probably a place to start is with the regulation, because if you look at, I mean, Advocata has been speaking on how hard it is to set up, a small organization like a sole trader, the kind of time and documentation it requires. Then it only gets worse for private limited companies, going for, along that ladder. So reforming that process, and then there are lots of issues and regulations when it comes to investment, when it comes to transfer of capital flows, uh, approvals, even in the export sector. So I think we've spoken about these, and there are lots of policy outputs written over time. I think now what we need again is that implementation mindset and getting these reforms implemented. So a key reform, I think, must be deregulation. This will supplement the kind of reforms like SOE reforms that will take place in the country. I think a third key important element is really, if we want to achieve growth, is again, this is part of a liberalization process where we will try to look at, things like skilled immigration, and having a more open mindset when it comes to our nation's immigration policy, and then which should also be supplemented by an open investment policy, where it will be very easy for investors to come and invest. And then, we mustn't forget, the port city exists now. I think regardless of debates we have, we should utilize it and get in the kind of investments and get the project going. So I think there has to be a wholesome and a coordinated effort with these reforms. So a second key important thing with reforms is that interdepartmental coordination, and I think this has to come at a governmental level. I think I must also emphasize another key important reform that we've probably not discussed or been ignoring, is our relationship with India, and the kind of market, the 1.23 billion market that we have been ignoring for the longest time. So I think expanding and developing our economic relationship with India has to be is going to be important, especially because from a very business perspective, it'll also help our entrepreneurs, our businesses, to enter and get access to a 1.3 billion market, and this is going to be a key driver. So I think there are a wholesome set of reforms that is before us. So we have this wish list, and I think right now what we need is to prioritize that. Understand that with macroeconomic stabilization, you need a network coordinated action plan for the implementation of these reforms. I think this has to be the kind of precondition for 2023. And I think it is very important that policymakers, government, and also the public as a whole start supporting these reforms, because these are the only ways in which you can come out of this crisis and divert the nation and the economy towards a path of growth.
Of course, Vimanga. Like you said, we've been having this wish list of reforms that we've been constantly talking about, mentioning, and also Advocata has been producing a lot of work around these areas. We've been talking about a set of reforms, and also we've been talking about the interests that we have as a regional member. So I think it's time that we use all these connections, all these opportunities, and like I said, a crisis should not go into waste. It should be utilized, and the reforms should be made in order to make the future of this country prosperous, and hand over a blissful country to the next generations. So it is important that in 2023 we all resolve, and our one and only resolution for our country and our economy should be that we should support the reforms, and we should make sure that it's done. And I think the Reset Now podcast was a reason for having this podcast on the dawn of this year, is to give you hope and positivity about the reform process that we need to carry on in this year, in the next 12 months, and bring our country to a point that bring our country to the path of economic prosperity.